Jordan will let us know when we're live.
You are live.
All righty. How are you doing today, Kyle McAlister?
I'm good. Now, I'm not hearing anything in here. Do I need to turn?
Oh, yeah. No. That was my bad. You got to turn that all the way up, Jordan.
Test. Oh, now I hear myself.
Okay.
That's what I sound like? That's
Yeah.
so weird.
Does it sound like a completely different person?
No, I hear this voice every day.
Yeah.
I mean, people say, hey, how, when they talk about voices, I guess it's one of those people have said, hey, you need to do this because your voice. And I'm like, it's my voice. I hear it every day. It's nothing big to me.
Did you ever watch Friends?
Yes. Not as much. That's not my generation. My generation is more like Seinfeld and the Simpsons, that weirdness.
There was an episode of Friends where she had this song called Smelly Cat. And the joke was Phoebe's really bad at singing.
Now, I have heard about the Smelly Cat before.
Oh, she did a music video for it and got signed and everything. And the music video comes out, they're watching it, and it's this beautiful, like gospel voice coming out of her. And she's like, is that what I really sound like? And everyone's, of course, obviously it's not her voice. She's like, I'm so glad I finally get to experience this.
Yeah. That's like my daughter, Macy. Someone said, I mentioned to him, they said, what's your daughter's name? And I said, Macy. And they're like, well, that's not a name you hear every day. And I said, she hears it every day. She hears it usually several times a day. So,
right.
Anyway, so I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
We left the rails on that one. So
yeah, you were talking about your poor name a second ago.
Yeah. So MC, I don't know why people want to add an extra L.
Yeah.
Okay. It's MCAL.
It feels right. Like we've become accustomed to two L's.
Yeah. Well, when we lived in San Antonio, there's a former mayor of San Antonio, McAlister, 2 L's. Mm-hmm. So in San Antonio, there's McAlister Park, 2 L's, McAlister Freeway, 2 L's.
What about the deli? Does that have 2 L's?
That has 1 L.
Oh, so well, okay, there you go.
But no relation. I wish.
It's too bad.
But it got to the point where our church, even in the directory, it was 2 L's. I'm like, I just give up.
Right.
But I tell people we were poor. We could afford only 1 L. And so the shortest way, the worst I've ever seen it spelled was MACCALLISTER. I mean, that's like 5 extra letters. Mm-hmm. And that would
I put 2 L's right here.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's fine. When
I won't show it.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. Hold on right there.
Yeah.
When people send me emails and like, it didn't send, I said, well, check again. See how you spelled it. And, make sure that's good to go.
So the first thing I want to get into is you worked at NASA in some form.
I did.
Tell me about that and how you got into that.
Well, this was quite a while ago. Well, to back up even further, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I mean, that was my goal.
An astronaut right
I saw that when I came in. I thought it was a mirror, but it's no, I'm not that tall actually.
Right.
Oh, that's Buzz.
That's what's his name? Edwin Aldrin.
Edwin Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
By the way, there's an interesting picture. So, for example, in this picture,
the Earth looks fake.
Well, I don't know if you can see it, but in this picture, every single human being that's alive at that time is in that picture except for 2. There's Buzz Aldrin, who took the picture,
right,
and Michael Collins, who would have been in the LEM.
Yeah, the guy.
The CSM.
Get on the moon.
He's the Command Service Module. Mm-hmm. But in that picture, because there's the Earth, every single human being that was alive on July 29th or July 30th, 1969, is in that picture. Because there's Neil Armstrong and the Earth. And the only 2 people alive at that time who aren't in that picture are Buzz Aldrin, because he took it, and Michael Collins, because he's in the CSM.
Because it has a picture of the entire Earth?
Yeah, because so.
I was really trying to get that for a second.
I know.
But that's funny. Yeah, I get it now.
So are you okay? You must. Yeah.
No, you got it. It's the NASA conspiracy's been like...
It is.
Like radiation in my head. Yeah. I couldn't get it.
And the moon landing actually happened in Hamlin.
Hamlin. Okay.
A little off the beat.
Are these lights any similar to what was used?
Not near bright enough.
Okay.
And have to have the lunar. So when I was growing up, I wanted to be an astronaut. I mean, I was going to go in the Coast Guard. I was going to be a pilot in the Coast Guard. I was going to go to the NASA Academy. Going to the astronaut.
Is that
Academy.
What most people do? They start at the Coast Guard?
Well, no, I just figured that was the easiest way to get in.
Okay.
Because that's just something I kind of thought about it. But my eyes were bad. Okay. And back then, they didn't have laser surgery and things like that. And you really don't want an astronaut who's like, hey, is that a spaceship or is that a stop sign? Or, you don't want that. So my eyes were not good enough. And so, but I still was very, very into NASA, kind of nerdy like that. I mean, I watched pretty much every shuttle launch on TV. I videotape, VCR. I taped them.
Right.
I've got stacks and
they
stacks.
They used to keep videotapes at Blockbuster.
They did, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and you probably could have rented one of my tapes. It was a mixtape. It was just launch. Anyway, you know, and I wrote to NASA, and I've got autographed pictures and things like that. And then so I decided to go to work. So I applied at NASA in the Public Information Office, and was actually a contractor with NASA for about 18 months before I was able to get a broadcasting job back in Abilene. But yeah, I worked at Johnson Space Center, and our job was to research. If like for your podcast, if you needed a piece of video, you would call our company called Media Services,
right?
And we would find the piece of video and send it to you. Our other job was during a shuttle flight. There's a thing called NASA TV, which is on the cable channel here.
So you were kind of like marketing, public relations kind of thing.
More media relations. It was more because we only dealt with the media, but then we also controlled NASA TV. So when the flight was on, we had to make like a TV schedule. Okay, you know, from this time to this time, we're going to show downlink video from the shuttle. From this time to this time, we're going to show a replay of that downlink, and we just had to do the TV schedule. Now that they don't do shuttle flights as much, they don't really need that as much. They just sometimes will go to live feed from the International Space Station or just static feed of mission control.
Did you get to meet any astronauts?
I did. I was there I actually was lead on one flight, and so kind of the flight I considered to be the guys I knew was STS-43, John Blaha.
What year was that?
That was 1991.
Okay.
So it was a TDRS mission. John Blaha, Mike Baker, Shannon Lucid, David
I'll pick it
Lowe.
up the blockbuster, and I'll catch up on it.
Oh yeah, it's cool. Yeah, it's the fun stuff. But yeah, and I mean there were other missions, but that was the mission I was lead on. So
it's funny, you know, in the Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges used to listen to like bowling tapes. So
yeah.
I just imagine you listening to liftoffs.
Oh, I
hanging out.
Yeah. 3, 2.
Yeah.
But I never got to see a launch because I just didn't get to. And then when I was
the one you were talking about, the guys that you did like manage it, but you weren't like physically there.
No, because we were at Johnson Space Center in Houston, and obviously all the launches are at Kennedy Space Center.
Right, but while it was going on, you were managing it, so you didn't technically get to see it. But
I was the video downloads and things like that.
Yeah, so you were like you like oversaw one though, which is still pretty interesting.
Pretty cool. It was a lot of fun
to be a part of history.
Yeah.
What's your take on the fact that Buzz Aldrin won't swear on the Bible that he went to the moon? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There's a video that's circling around the internet. As someone, I don't know who made it, but some guy goes up to him, and there's like people around him trying to get him away, and he has a Bible with him, and he goes, "Can you just swear on the Bible that you went to the moon? Just swear on the Bible." And he goes, "Get away from me! Just get away from me!" And finally, Buzz Aldrin like hit the guy or something like that. I don't think he punched him in the face, but he definitely hit him, and that's a big thing.
Well, but you know, in the moon, if it's 1/6 the gravity, so it really wouldn't be a full hit.
Right.
Maybe
this actually took place on Earth.
Oh, it was on Earth.
Yeah.
Well, that would be different. That would be kind of interesting. It would be interesting if it happened on the moon because, you know, usually you don't take a Bible to the moon.
Right.
So that's kind of
Brian,
that would. I don't know. If
you
maybe
should do that. Like every hotel, it's got the Bible in the drawer. You could have put that. The guy who was floating around the moon could have been
the
reading
Eagle
it.
Has landed thanks to the Gideons. We have a Bible right here. So I have not seen that. That would be interesting. I mean, he's been. There's a picture of him right there, sort of.
Yeah, so. Technically, if we did go to the moon, that's the picture of him on the moon.
Yeah.
I've had multiple people come in here and be like, man, what an interesting fake picture of the moon.
Yeah.
No, but what, out of curiosity, what's your take on the moon landing conspiracy? What's the like?
Oh, I mean, everyone's got to have a hobby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do I believe they went to the moon? Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I've seen the moon dust, or, you know, they have obviously a limited amount of lunar samples because they would go and they would bore down and then bring back those samples.
Do you know how much attention you could get if you just started a website about how you used to work at NASA and they're all fake? Well, I know you shouldn't. I know you shouldn't if you don't believe that.
I know we're going to talk about this here in a second, but I don't need a whole lot of media coverage right now. You know, yeah, I mean, I guess I could. But there are people that have worked at NASA longer than me who would probably garner more. Well,
I mean, if you even had anything to do with NASA, people are so interested on the internet about it. There are whole YouTube documentaries that these people made about the flat Earth and everything, and they're so like, I think it was middle school when I was curious about it, and so I like watched one of the documentaries. Yeah. And these guys are so intense, and they'll show clips from like late night talk shows where they make fun of flat earthers and be like, they just make fun of us because they know it's right, and they know they ridicule us, that the general public will not believe in it.
Well, my great grandma,
you guys are scary.
My great grandmother did not believe that man landed on the moon. In fact,
for what reason?
Well, she was 90 something at the time.
Right.
So that may have been part of it. I don't know. I think she just kind of got that in her mind. We went she lived in Little River, which is just outside of Temple, and we lived in Waco at the time, not a Branch Davidian, by the way.
Right.
But we took her on the used to be a thing called the Brazos Queen, which was a little old paddle boat that you could get there in Waco, and it would go up the Brazos, and you had dinner, and it came, it's just one of those little things. And she was convinced that the Brazos Queen is what they faked the moon landing in.
Really?
I don't know. So there's an old movie called Capricorn 1 that I'm sure, have you seen that?
No.
Okay, Capricorn 1 is a movie about the faked moon landing. O.J. Simpson and a couple of other guys. You've never seen that movie? Seriously, you've never seen that movie?
I think I've heard of it.
No, I haven't. Have you ever seen that movie? Oh man, it's a good old conspiracy. It is a movie about.
I'm a movie guy, and it's really not ringing any bells to me right now.
It's in the 70s, and it's a movie about the fake moon landing.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not going to give you the spoiler alert.
Blowing my mind that I don't know about
it. They probably hit a blockbuster. Yeah, so we made the decision never to show her that movie. Never ever look at Capricorn 1. You watch it's an interesting movie, and it's
well, it's got to be true if O.J. Simpson was in it because he tells the truth.
He does. Oh yeah. If the space glove doesn't fit, you must acquit or something like that.
I actually feel like of all the conspiracy theories, the moon landing being fake is the only one that can't be unproven. Because you're like
the moon landing being fake can't be unproven.
Well, yeah. I don't think it was fake, but you could be like, oh, they didn't go. I wasn't there, so you can't tell me that it was real.
Someone can't prove to you specifically they went to the moon.
Yeah.
I guess unless you go to the moon, that is true.
And then you'd see what they left. Because there are,
right. They brought space rocks back, but theoretically, you could say, I don't know what a space rock is. I've never seen one.
Well, but if you went to the moon, you would see the things that we left behind because, there's the bottoms of the lunar the limbs.
But if we went to the moon, then the thing would be solved.
Exactly.
Unless you're only arguing that we didn't go to the moon the first time, but maybe later we went to the moon, which some people are. Do you know who Owen Benjamin is?
No.
So he is kind of insane. You know who Steven Crowder is, right?
Yes. Okay.
So he's like the conservative talk show host, essentially. Okay. But Owen Benjamin was a comedian, and he was starting to get kind of famous, and he got in trouble on Twitter for getting into this argument about because there are people who are trying to give transgender like they're trying to say that 3-year-olds are transgender and give them hormone blockers, which we just don't know any of the science on. He got in this huge argument about it, and that's that's his position. He's getting into it, and he got taken off of Twitter for that. And then from that, he kind of just went off the rails. And he's basically does a live video on YouTube every night, and he gets into a million different conspiracies. So he was on the moon landing for a long time, and he talks so matter-of-factly. He's like, I just know the moon landing didn't happen because it's so obvious. And he just starts talking about all this different stuff. But he is, if there's someone that you're ever curious to know about the most intense moon landing conspiracy theorist, it'd be him. Well, he got fired from Steven Crowder, if I remember correctly. He got fired from Steven Crowder because of all this negative moon landing stuff.
It is amazing when you say that. He has a moon or a YouTube video. A couple of months ago, it was before Christmas. I did a junior achievement. Went and taught a class for them. And when you do, have you ever done that? Have you done junior achievement? Have you ever hosted? Okay, yeah. And you've probably been in them, right? Junior achievement, when you were in school and the junior achievement. Okay, yeah. So when you do junior achievement, which it's a great thing. And
is it for elementary school?
Yeah, well, they have some for all ages, but you go in and you spend a day with a class and you teach them, how the economy works anyway. But one of the first things you do is you say, hey, what do you guys want to be when you grow up? Just to get to know. It's just kind of an icebreaker. Well, when I was a kid and probably when you were a kid and probably even when you were a little bit younger, what do you want to be? I want to be a policeman. I want to be a fireman. I want to be a singer. I want to be whatever like that. So I started asking these boys, what do you want to be? And he goes, I want to be a gamer. And my first reaction was go on out and hunt. And I thought, that's hunting wild game. That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
And then there was a girl, I want to be a vet. Another girl, I want to be a dancer. And what do you want to be? I want to be a gamer. No, but we want to be a gamer. I want to be a YouTube star. And then it hit me that for them, a gamer
it's a
is
profession,
like video games.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, one kid wanted to be a police officer, but all the boys in that room wanted to be a gamer, and then one of them wanted to be a YouTube star.
Yeah.
Which I'm sitting there going, man, that, that's what they think, I mean, I play Galaga. I don't think anybody's going to pay me money to play Galaga. And then I found
the game has changed a little bit.
It has a little bit. Yeah. But back and forth and back.
We added a dimension,
but I actually saw on TV, and it was like, ESPN 9 or something. I mean, it wasn't real.
Yeah. The championships.
It was a video game. It was two guys playing a video game on TV with an audience.
With an audience, yeah, watching them.
And commentators.
Yeah.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me.
There's a whole show about that, like a fictional show of, it's called Video Game High School.
Okay.
And it's actually because of the writing, like with your sense of humor, I think you'd love it. Like it's so funny. It's just kind of like slapstick. Like, do you ever watch Scrubs?
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of like that sense of humor. But it's based around, instead of sports at this high school, they have video games, basically.
I couldn't believe that people get paid. And I'm sitting there going, man, all the quarters I put in those games, I could have been practicing for the championships.
Dude, the whole time.
Yeah. But so I just happy when I go to places that have video games and I play Galaga and I get my 60, 70,000, tip my hat and move on. So
well, yeah, it's interesting. It has become a profession. There's multiple people I can name off the top of my head, like Markiplier, Tobuscus, PewDiePie, I think is the most subscribed to channel right now. But the reason I would never want to be a professional gamer, first of all, I don't play video games that often.
Right.
But what they do looks exhausting. Like they have multiple videos coming out every single day. So they're like constantly making content, and then they have to edit that content, and then they have to upload it. And then on top of that, they have to like come up with new and interesting things that they can do, and they have to like constantly, they have to be a personality.
Right. Like, and that's the the problem, I think, with a lot of this is that there is, hey, you're really a flash in the pan. When I was younger, a long time ago, bands would have an album, and then it would take them a couple of albums to really kind of hit their stride. And I'm going to use it, for example, REO Speedwagon. I found some older REO Speedwagon LPs that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And then, because then they got, High Infidelity and things like that. And so most bands, that are even popular today, you can go back and find some of their earlier stuff, and then they kind of hit it big. Nowadays, with, I guess, maybe MTV to somewhat, but I really kind of think the Disney Channel mindset is, nowadays you're hot now and then you fade out. And so it's a little bit different.
You get a hit, and then you have a moment in the sun, and then you keep making albums.
And then you got it, because
and you only so many sticks. So the first hit you get like half the world listening, and then from there, like as the years go by, only like you get like a few thousand.
And then that's the way it is with these YouTube folks, is that you're hot now, but you get old really quick, and there's so much competition out there for that. I just don't get it. And my kids will tell me all the time, and they're 25 and 22. Hey, did you look at this YouTube? I'm like, I mean, really, I rarely look at YouTube, unless I'm trying to find an old comedy bit from something. But a lot of it is I just don't have time. I mean, I can see how you could get hooked on watching YouTube, and that's all you did, because there's so much out there.
Well, it's kind of like, it's almost like reading a book. So it's like, you could be like, you don't like reading. I'm like, well, you probably don't dislike reading. You just haven't read the right book.
Right.
Because there's a book about anything, from instructional books to dragon fantasy novels or
now those I've read,
or nonfiction. Right. But as far as like, so that Video Game High School, it actually started out as a YouTube series, but it's got a huge budget, and like they built sets for this. It had 3 seasons, and the second season they got like, after the traction of the first season, you can tell in like production quality from the first season to the second. The first one looks impressive, something that I can't do right now, but the second season looks like a show you would watch on TV.
Right.
But it's interesting because it started on YouTube, but it's like there's just these people that have a drive and they don't have a place to put something, but YouTube, you can put anything.
Right. Yeah.
And so you've got everything from podcast, cat videos to TV shows. Well,
and it's kind of like with Netflix, there's not enough time. I mean, I guess I just don't have enough time. Right. I need people that create things and stuff like that to stop. for about 6 months. Let me catch up.
Catch up with all of the world's creations.
Exactly, because I
mean, it's going to take a while when you hit Shakespeare, and then you got to get over that hump.
No, I had to do Shakespeare in high school. He's done.
What Shakespeare did you do in high school?
I mean,
acted it?
No,
or you just read it?
No, just read it. Yeah,
okay.
Read it. And man, do kids? I'm sorry, I say kids, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but
no, it's okay.
When you're 51, you just kind of okay. So
51.
50. I know.
I'm just kidding.
I know, hard to believe. I feel every day, David. Did you ever have to read Across? No, the Red Badge of Courage.
Oh no, we didn't.
Oh man, Red Badge of Courage and Across 5 Aprils.
Yeah.
Oh man, those were terrible books. I mean, and they're both Civil War novels.
Yeah.
Okay, and those are the ones that you.
I don't think I've even heard of them.
I think I actually read Red Badge of Courage.
Yeah.
Like by myself in middle school, but it's not like a requirement.
You read it by yourself for
by
fun?
myself
in middle school.
Yeah.
Wow. That's impressive.
I would have read it if it was like the 1, 2, 3 I can read books.
If it was Encyclopedia Brown or Tom Swift,
like Civil War for Dummies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this guy didn't like this guy. Oh, that makes sense.
Have you read any of the For Dummies books?
No, I'm not smart enough for those. I'm still stuck on the idiot books. Okay?
Right.
I need to
haven't
find
gotten to the dummies yet.
The Dummies for Idiots is the book I need.
Right.
So I'm hoping to improve to that point at some point. But yeah, Across 5 Aprils is one of those books that you're assigned in history class or literature class, and you remember it like the week before it's due, and so you had to cram to read a book that is so boring. So anyway.
Well, I want to ask you, so you're not from Abilene. Where are you from?
I am from, at this point, I probably lived in Abilene longer than any place, but grade school in Arlington, high school in Waco.
So you are from Texas.
I'm from Texas, yes. The only time we haven't lived in Texas is I did work at a TV station in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, in the late 70s, late 90s, like 96.
So this is after
97.
college, though.
After college, yeah. So basically, so it's weird for me in my generation. So I've got my elementary school Facebook friends. Okay?
Right.
I've got my high school Facebook friends. I've got my college Facebook friends.
Then you got North Carolina.
And then I got some North Carolina ones. And sometimes I'll be talking and I'm like, oh yeah, well, you're a different group.
Right.
You don't know that guy, or things like that. But yeah, so I mean, Texas, yes. Abilene, off and on since 1985 when I came to college here, but we have been here solid since about 1997, 98.
I've tried to throw. So I moved around a lot when I was younger, and I've tried to collide those worlds as much as possible. Like I lived in Mason, Texas, if you know where that is.
I do know where Mason is. Mason, Texas has the highest number of tennis courts of pretty much any place in the state.
Does it really? We only have like the 8 that I know of,
but most of them are private.
Okay, I only know of one private one. We have what, 6 at the school, and then we have 2 that were in my neighborhood that were literally like next door to my house.
If you talk to people who do tennis tournaments, Mason, and they have a lot of tournaments down there, and people just open up their home courts.
Yeah.
Too, but yeah, there's a lot of tennis courts in Mason, as well as the Coopers, which is good too.
Yeah, I used to. It's so weird because like I lived there before and during the time that I got my license. So, but the majority of the time I was there, I didn't my license, but it didn't matter. So it felt kind of weird and redundant when I got my license because it's so small that I could legitimately walk from one side to the other in 20 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, and but now you can drive it in 2.
Right.
So you can get.
It felt like I was cheating on reality. It's like we're gonna get too spoiled, like instant gratification.
Well, I don't know about that.
Because you run out of town so quickly.
I see what you said. I see you.
I'm spoiling myself, so there's nowhere to go.
You drive 3 or 4 times around there.
I'll be driving to Canada just to entertain myself.
Or Hamlin, where they faked the moon landing.
Oh, okay. So, where is Hamlin?
Hamlin's just north of here. Hamlin, go to...
it's in Texas.
Oh, yeah, 277 up to Anson, and then when you get north of Anson, it splits. You can go to the right and go to Stamford and Haskell, and then on up to Wichita Falls eventually, or you can go to the left and Hamlin's the next.
When I was a little kid, I thought Houston was just a guy's name.
Well, it is.
Right, it is, but
more. Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Right.
You know what's funny is that there used to be here in Abilene where Treadaway goes under the railroad tracks. Okay, there used to be a sign there before you went into the railroad tracks that you go to right and go on South First, or go left and you still stay on Treadaway. And there was a sign and it said Fort Worth, Midland, El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you just took a left there, you would be in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
If the sign there said Wichita, Kansas, it's closer from that point to Wichita, Kansas than it is from that point to El Paso.
Yeah.
Because El Paso
Texas
is so
so
big.
Freaking big. I used to live in Arizona for a time, in Phoenix. And so
it's the heat, it's not the humidity, right?
Brian Regan has a joke about how he wanted to start a new team.
Yeah. Call it the humidity.
He'd be like, well, it's not the heat, it's the humidity. And then I'd sell the team right after the press conference. No, but yeah, we'd have to make I think it's like a 24-hour drive or something from here to Phoenix, and like 20 of those hours are through Texas.
Exactly. When we take my brother-in-law lives in Charlotte. And my brother-in-law lives in Charlotte. I mean, my brother lives in Charlotte. My mom lives in Monroe, which is just outside of Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
And so every other Christmas, usually we drive out there,
mm-hmm.
And we make it to Vicksburg the first night, and then we drive the rest of the way. Well, I make my kids, when we drive across Mississippi, we have to listen to Elvis,
mm-hmm.
and they hate that. And I say, well, hey, just be happy. It's 117 miles. I mean, it's not that far. If we got to Texas and you had to listen to country music,
do they not like Elvis?
No, they don't like Elvis. Well, and I will give them this. It's always at Christmas, so they play those Elvis Christmas specials that are not very good.
Yeah.
One time when I was at K Texas, this is years and years ago, there was a bus crash in the Rio Grande Valley, one of the towns down there, and K Texas had just gotten its satellite truck,
mm-hmm.
and we gotten a call from somebody saying, "Hey, are you guys going to send your satellite truck to cover this bus crash?" Because it was a school bus had gotten hit by like a Pepsi truck or something, and the school bus had rolled into a ditch, and I think it killed some kids, if I remember correctly. But it was a big story.
Yeah.
And
when was this?
This was in the late 90s.
Okay.
So it's been a long time ago.
Wow.
So.
It's crazy. I'll let you go.
Oh, well, I was going to say, all these stations were calling us saying, mm-hmm. "Hey, aren't you going to send your satellite truck?" And we're like, "Why are you calling us?" And they say, "Because you're in Abilene, Texas, and this happened in Texas, so can't you get there?" And we're like, "Pull up a map. How far is it from Abilene to the Rio Grande Valley?" I mean,
it would be smarter if we lived in California for us to cover that.
Yeah, keep working down the alphabet. Beaumont, they're closer. Corpus Christi, they're closer.
Right.
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I want to say it's just crazy. We drive these I feel like the car phenomenon, as far as like humanity goes, we've existed for a really long time, but looking at how long we've had these metal contraptions that drive at incredibly high speeds, they keep getting bigger and faster. And thinking of a Pepsi truck and a bus, we put one guy in charge of driving this huge thing. Like, that's insane. And there was a crash that happened in literally the car in front of me like a week ago or something like that. And I was leaving my house, and it was on Rebecca, and I was watching, and someone was driving. It was this littler car was driving out, and I guess they weren't looking, but they were coming to join my lane, mm-hmm. I guess. And in the lane where the guy was coming past me, was doing what he should be doing. And it's kind of weird. It's like time slows down for a second because mm-hmm. you're observing that.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, there's no way he's going to make that. But you're not paying attention to they're both going really fast. And then it was the first big wreck I'd ever seen happen real time, literally as close as I could be to it. There were no cars separating me from it. And it's destroyed the front of their car and the front of the other person's car. And it was crazy. And kind of I wasn't even involved in it. And I felt in shock from it. And
it almost goes into slow motion.
Yeah. It's crazy to think these people are we're just put in charge. I mean, and I was literally in the same metal contraption doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it's oh my God,
wait till you get old like me and you look at the car next to you and you think, there's no way that person could be old enough to drive.
Right.
And then I think, you know what? 20 years ago, Someone was saying the same thing about me, or 30. Well, let's see here, however many, since 16. So 16 from 51, whatever. But it is, you look at these and it's like, there's no way that person can be driving.
What I think is funny is that every single time anybody's driving and we like get so mad at the person next to us, we'll drive up and look who's in there. It doesn't matter who is in there. If it's a 90-year-old lady or like a middle-aged man, we're always like, I knew it. I knew it was them.
So several years ago, I was in Houston, and I was in
Houston. That's a guy's name.
It is. It's also a city. It's on the coast. I've been there a couple of times. I was in my mother-in-law's Jeep. I had to take her Jeep down to Houston for some business, and the Jeep had this real thick rubber bumper because it was a Renegade. It was okay. So I'm in this park, and it was right around Christmas. So I'm in this parking lot. It was a Best Buy. I was having to buy a power cord for a computer. So it's packed in there. And so I stop here, and this car in front of me starts backing up to let another car back up.
That's comforting.
And so, I can't go anywhere. There's a car behind me. So I'm hitting the horn. And finally this car, it just barely kisses that rubber. And nothing wrong. Not a thing. And I throw open the door, and I'm just irate. And this little old nun gets out of the car in front of me. This nun had backed into me, and I went from this to this. I went from, "Are you okay? Are you okay? Well, we're fine." And
the nun gets out. Of course, it's a nun.
It's like, is this a joke? But I've used that story when you talk.
It's the new stereotype about nuns and backing
so that's the I use that story as how quickly we can change by what our situation is. Right. I was just ready to. I can't believe you hit me and this, that, or the other, and it's a nun, and I just brought it down.
Yeah.
And are you sure you're okay? Yes, sir. You okay? I'm fine, ma'am. I'm fine. Have it. You want that spot?
I can't. I'm sure I probably have at some point, but I legitimately can't think of a time in my life that I've seen a nun in real life.
Oh, but there's not a lot here in Abilene. But
right.
Yeah. But yeah, you go to the airport, places I've traveled. But
right. It's interesting. It just makes me. It just kind of threw me off when you were describing this thing, and you're like, a nun gets out, and I was like, I can't have that would have thrown me off.
Well, if she's driving in a parking lot at a Best Buy in Houston, give her plenty of room.
Right.
She needs backup. So,
right.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you about is you're really into soccer, right?
Yes.
You're wearing what looks to be some kind of soccer apparel.
Okay, so the movie Spinal Tap.
Yeah.
This is Spinal Tap. Have you seen that movie?
I know what it is.
Okay. It's one of the best movies that my wife tells me I'm not allowed to tell anybody I like. Because
really?
I will say this right now. The language is horrific.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so the language is bad. It's just bad. But it's one of the funniest rockumentary. It's a rockumentary. In fact, there's a series.
It's a rockumentary.
It's not a documentary. It's a rockumentary. And there's a series of them. There's Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show.
Like a musical documentary?
Well, no. It's kind of first. It's a documentary, but it's a fake documentary about a rock band. So it's a rockumentary.
Okay.
But there's Spinal Tap is about rock. Waiting for Guffman is about small town theater. Best in Show is about a dog show. A Mighty Wind is about a folk music festival, and For Your Consideration is about the Oscars. Mm-hmm. And each one of them kind of have the same characters the same actors in them. Mm-hmm. And so there's, like I said, there's 5 of them, and they're all a little bit different, but they're all kind of presented as documentaries, but they're obviously comic. But the writing's very good. But in one of the scenes in This is Spinal Tap, Nigel Tufnell, no, Derek Smalls. Derek Smalls is wearing this soccer jersey. Mm-hmm. And so that's the reason I got it, is because it's a Derek Smalls jersey. It is an actual soccer team called the Shrews, but I just got it because of that.
You have an interesting, very, very extroverted, open personality, and you kind of whip off jokes all the time. And it literally, I guess it's that, because as soon as you got out of your car and I saw you wearing that shirt, it did not faze me at all. And just now when I pointed it out that it seemed soccer, I was like, oh, it's also very loud.
Yeah.
But you wear it fine.
Well, thank you. Because I paid for it. I hope
that is good. That is good.
That's a good thing. No, yeah. It's I love this jersey. And people that know Spinal Tap, they'll look at it and be like, hey, that's Derek Smalls. And then other people are just
one of those that not a lot of people get, but you appreciate when someone gets it.
But I do appreciate
it. I have an exact same situation shirt.
Blockbuster?
Yes.
You have 2 of them now.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let me describe the shirt to you and see if I appreciate you.
Okay.
So it's a big blue shirt, and in big yellow text it says, "Don't hassle me, I'm local."
I don't know what that's from.
Have you seen What About Bob with Bill Murray?
It's been a long time ago.
forget it.
Okay,
You don't get
okay.
it.
Well,
It's fine.
I'll get that. Well, and yeah, so
I would have thought of anybody you might know it.
I mean, I have seen it. It's
Right.
it's been a long time ago.
It's one of the all-time underrated movies, I think.
I'll have to go watch that now.
It's
I'll watch that. You watch
fantastic.
Capricorn 1.
Okay.
You
Not
know,
Spinal Tap? Because you're not allowed to say that you like it.
I can't say that I like that. It's just like my wife also says, don't tell people you like The Simpsons. I love The Simpsons.
Right. Well, apparently some people like The Simpsons because it's been going on for 100 years.
Yeah. There's, in my world, any situation in the world, I can find a MASH, Seinfeld, Andy Griffith, or Simpsons reference.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my go-to.
Well, I think it was Jim Gaffigan who was talking about people don't want to admit that they go to McDonald's, and everyone's like, I'd never go to McDonald's. Everyone you find says that, but they sell 700 billion sandwiches a day. There's only 7 billion people on the planet, so I'm pretty sure everyone's lying.
Yeah, that's true. Well, but there was a point when when my kids were small, and you can say what you want to about McDonald's, they market well. I mean, they have a good.
Have you seen The Founder? The movie
with
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. I've seen parts of it again.
Oh, dude, you got to see the whole thing.
Well, they do a good job of that.
Yeah.
And when my kids were young, they wanted a Happy Meal.
Right.
I do remember the time I turned to my wife and said, the next time I go to McDonald's, it's because I want to, not because I have to. Because when you're driving and you're on a road trip, man, that's an easy place to get.
Yeah.
Now I eat at McDonald's every once in a while, but that's because I want to now.
Yeah.
Not because I have to. So
I'm not embarrassed. I think it's so funny. Jim Gaffigan had so many jokes about it, and it just felt really true to life.
Yeah.
He's like, people think they're so much better than McDonald's. Like, I would never eat at McDonald's. He goes, well, McDonald's wouldn't want you because you're a dick.
I like McDonald's. I mean, I do. And it may have been Gaffigan that said that, there comes a point where McDonald's is no longer a treat. It becomes a threat to your kids.
Right.
If you guys don't act up, if you guys don't calm down, we're going to McDonald's. No, we don't want to go to McDonald's.
I think it was Bill Burr was talking about it. And do you ever listen to Bill Burr? He was saying, McDonald's is for little kids when they won't stop talking.
Yeah.
You get them because McDonald's is poison. You put it in them, their little systems can't handle the grease, and they just fall asleep.
They fall asleep. Yeah.
It's like, but you're older, so you can handle a bigger dose of poison.
Well, I remember, man, when I was in high school, we stop at McDonald's, and if you had $10, man, you could stuff yourself at McDonald's for $10. Now you can't get quite as much.
Right. It's like one meal, one small meal is $10 at McDonald's.
I want to get 7 hamburgers. Why can't I get 7 hamburgers? But I guess
they took away the dollar menu. It's the $1, $2, $3 menu now.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to do math. That's not my thing.
Well, it's sad because McDonald's, I think the biggest appeal was how cheap they were, but now, I mean, they're pretty much as expensive as anywhere else. Like if you want to get a normal, unless you want to get, they have like $1 hamburgers, but those are so questionable, I think.
Well, I mean, but if you get 6 of them, I mean, surely 6 $1 hamburgers.
I mean, they'll feed you, but the best thing is the $5 hot and ready's from Little Caesars, because they're still good.
They are still good. They are good. I'm probably the most fast food I eat is Whataburger. I'm a Whataburger guy.
I'm not a huge Whataburger fan.
I'm
an In-N-Out guy.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, of what you got here, of what we have here.
Right.
I mean, In-N-Out is good. Whataburger, it's made fresh, which means it takes a little time. If you're in a hurry, don't go to Whataburger.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong.
Whataburger has horrible service every time.
No. It's not horrible service. It's just that they've got to cook it. I mean, it's not sitting under a heat lamp somewhere. If you order a hamburger, they're going to cook it then.
I had someone explain to me they thought that Whataburger had bad service because they know that they're good enough that you're going to stay. It's like, come on. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Leave you like our food too much?
I don't think that's it. I mean, I love Whataburger.
Might have just been partly a joke.
Yeah. Could be.
You're very. I feel very like you're defensive of whatever. So
No.
So
I mean that may be the case. I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
I mean, the reason it takes long is because I know they're cooking it.
Yeah.
That's and I like.
You're
that.
at least civil and defensive about it. Some people get religious about it.
I know.
It's the whole fandom culture we exist in right now.
That
if you don't agree on very random specifics that you wouldn't think would ever matter, we're not allowed to be in the same room anymore.
I only feel that way about people who like Pepsi and the LA Lakers. So,
wow. I told you I had Mac Powell on yesterday, and I've been a Mac Powell fan for a long time, fan of Third Day, and I actually I used to have this. I'd make YouTube videos all the time when I was in middle school, and I did him as a character because he has this very like low, like epic voice, and I would make parody songs using him as a character. But he had a goatee and long hair, and I didn't have a wig or a fake goatee. So basically, I would do his voice and put a hat on, and that was the difference between me and him. And I showed it to him because he wanted to see it, and first comment he made is he was like, "Okay, well, there's your mistake. I would never ever wear a Dodger hat." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I'm sorry."
Well, if you're I'm a native Texan, so I don't like the Lakers. I don't like the Yankees. I don't like the Redskins. And what's killing me about the Redskins is first they got Colt McCoy, and now they've got Case Keenum. Now, I have nothing against Colt McCoy, and I wish him all the success in the world. And I have nothing against Case Keenum. I wish him all the success in the world. But why do they have to play for the Redskins?
I got to tell you something real quick. I don't know anything about sports.
Well, I mean, I don't know much. I do soccer. That's about it. But I just know growing up, I was a Cowboy fan and a Ranger fan. And if you're a Cowboy fan and you're a Ranger fan, that means you have a good sense of humor. That's the only way you're going to survive being a Cowboy fan and a Ranger fan. You just got to laugh it off. I mean, the baseball season's about to start, and now I've got to learn all the names of all the new Rangers who are going to let me down.
Right.
So I've just got to memorize those names, and then we'll go from there.
Well, my dad's from LA, and he grew up in LA, and I've been a filmmaker, so I've always wanted to, like, my original dream city is LA. So the Dodgers are kind of like, I'm not a sports guy, but I love baseball. I don't pay enough attention to what's going on in baseball. So the only people, my brain is literally so not sports. I was about to say the only cast members that I can name,
they're called players.
The only players on the team that I could name would be from the Dodgers. But like anybody else, I don't know, and I don't really keep up unless I find out the Dodgers are doing really well. Every now and again, I'll try to watch one of their games.
Well, and I honestly don't care. I do care, but I don't care. If the Cowboys win, great. If the Rangers win, great. I'll be excited. But if they don't, I don't go into deep mourning. Now, the U.S. soccer team, when we didn't make the World Cup last year, yes, I walked around the house for like 2 weeks going, I can't believe we're not going. I can't believe we're not going.
Well, what's interesting about sports? I felt like I couldn't relate to it enough because I'm not so into sports. But I mean, I do like baseball, so I guess I could relate to it in that way. But I went and saw. You said you know who Jordan Peterson is, right? So, on what level do you know who he is? Do you like listen to anything?
Oh no.
You just know.
I just know of him. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, he's a clinical psychologist, and he goes around. He wrote this great book, 12 Rules for Life, and he's on tour right now, and he'll give these lectures. And I think it's so cool. Like, he sells out like almost everywhere he goes, which is super cool to me.
Right.
But I went to see him because the beginning of this year was the last time he was going to be in the U.S. for a while, because he's like in like UK, and he went to Austria and stuff like that. But I went to see him. I flew to San Jose, California, and I went to go see him. And he was talking about sports, and he was saying it's interesting how much our brains are wired for fair play. We like fair play so much that we get religious about it when watching sports, because we enjoy watching people play the game and playing the game fairly. And when people screw up, it means something to us. And like people who are like bad refs, it like hurts us on an emotional level. So we get emotionally involved in, like, it seems silly, and everyone's like, how could you get so involved in a game? It's like, because like we have this like desire for people to treat each other fairly.
Yeah, and I hadn't thought about that, because there'll be times when you'll see a player do something or not do something, and you get all upset, and it's like, what do they owe me? I mean, I'm not paying their salary.
Yeah.
And it's a game.
Yeah.
I mean, good on you, USA, where you can convince someone that you're worth several $1 million to play a game. I mean, that's capitalism right there. A great thing. But I hadn't thought about that. And I have been a ref. I mean, in officiating soccer, one of the things that I really try not to get onto refs, because when you're officiating, you get to see it from one angle, real time, once. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get a chance to do the video review or let's go to break and look under the hood. I mean,
not in your head, you can't do an instant replay. Yeah.
I mean, now sometimes when you ref, you something will happen and you kind of delay the whistle, and that's one of the things that when you become a soccer ref, and I guess with any sporting event, that take a half a second before you blow the whistle, make sure. And sometimes you kind of play it through your head again, but you're still got one angle.
I think it was some comedian said, I think refs should get 1 shrug per game.
Oh, I get more than that.
He's like, there's so many things that'll happen, like someone sliding into home and everything's happening really fast and there's a huge dust cloud. And it's like why don't you try to? Yeah. What do you think I could see any more than you could in that craziness right there?
Well, and there was a referee, Alfonso Hernandez, who has Alfonso Hernandez Bakery, the best burritos in town.
The one next to what used to be Taco Bell, right?
No,
that's Alfredo's.
That's Alfredo's. Yeah, Alfonso Hernandez is over there across from the old KG&Z.
Okay, yeah, on Butternut.
On Butternut, and I don't know how he did it, but he there was a call or something. He could just look at the fans and say, "I didn't see it," and they were cool. I've tried that. It doesn't work with me.
Yeah,
I didn't see it. Well,
you gotta have the right smile.
Man, I say I didn't see it. They're like, "That's because you're blind." I'm like, I didn't see.
Right.
Yeah, so I try not to be too hard on refs because I know. Now, I look at football games and they've got 3 or 4 refs. I do wonder how they cannot make a call sometimes because they got 3 or 4 sets of eyes. And even on professional soccer games, you get up to the FIFA, UEFA, places like that, the really high level, they've all got radio headsets and they can talk to each other. And so there's the center and there's 2 ARs and then they'll have a 4th official here and then they'll have someone up top. And so, there's a lot of communication. So it's a lot easier not to miss a call.
Right.
And then in the Europe League, they've actually added now a 5th and 6th official right behind the goal to cover in the penalty area. So they've got a ref down there that can call in the area.
What is it to you that makes a good ref, you think? Like what separates a good ref from a bad
ref? I think a good ref is someone who is, always willing to learn, who is willing to admit, hey, I'm not going to call a perfect game. I know some refs who they walk away from the game and they just think they're all it,
Yeah.
And when I call a game, I will the coin toss, I will say, guys, look, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to miss some calls. Okay. But I'm going to miss as many for you as I'm going to miss for you. So we'll call it even.
Right.
If I miss a call and you ask me about it, I may say, hey, I didn't see it. I saw it a different way, whatever. Let's just move on. But I think refs that are willing to understand that they are going to miss some calls, I think that's important. I think it's important for refs that are willing to learn. And also refs who are willing to communicate. You have a lot of refs that don't want to talk to coaches. I've had more kind of, calming effects. And when a coach yells something, hey, why did you make that call? Hey, coach, that's what I saw. They just want to hear from you. There are some officials that just, don't talk to me, coach, don't talk to me. Well, that's stupid. You're just ramping it up.
Yeah. Are there any conflict of interest rules for being a ref? Like if you had like a friend or family member on a team?
Well, in high school soccer, you can't ref a school. If you have a child that went to a school, you're not allowed to ref for, I think it's 4 years. To make sure that they don't have friends.
I thought you were about to say in general, and I was like, in Abilene, Texas, you couldn't ref anywhere.
Yeah, no, but so my oldest daughter went to Abilene High, so when she graduated, I couldn't do Abilene High games for 4 years, even though she never played soccer, so that's that. And then also, obviously, if you have a spouse that works for the school district, or if you work for the school district, no, that's not true. That's not true because, no, you can, because there are some AISD employees who are officials and they do ref AISD games.
Yeah.
But, they may work at Taylor Elementary. Well, Taylor Elementary is never going to have any run in with, Abilene High soccer. Or
secretly
behind
soccer. The scenes. Yeah. They're making bets on all the games.
Well, no. Well, maybe. I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny.
Right. I mean, there's a bunch of random rules that you wouldn't think about, I guess. Like, I guess it's not making sense what I was about to say. I was about to talk about how you can't pay players in college, but that makes complete sense. So
yeah,
that's where my brain went immediately.
Well, and there's a lot of people that are kind of pushing for that. So we'll see what happens.
Right. I mean, it's hard because I don't know. I guess the idea is that they should have a league that's. I mean, they probably already do. I'm about to sound really ignorant. But they should have a league that's like exactly the same as college, that's separate from college, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because I
think there's a basketball that's trying to do something like that. But I don't do
like somewhere you could go from high school that's not the professionals.
Right.
Baseball, we have like
the minors.
The minors and AAA.
There is, I think there's an NBA league like that. that has just started in the past 4 or 5 years. I think that's true.
Yeah.
You know, but there is,
because some people have to spend so much money getting a degree that they don't
there's,
really have a passion for.
You know, there's minor league baseball. There's, I don't know, I don't think there's minor league football. There's minor league soccer. You know, that, you know, there's the different levels up, and then with baseball, obviously you have the, you know, what A, AA, AAA, and you have some independent leagues, and then this new basketball league. Because like I think Dallas has a team, and there's a couple of teams around that I don't know that they're tied in with major, but again, you know, I don't know that, but I think basketball does have something like that.
So I want to ask you, I don't think you've made a joke in a good 5 minutes, but I want to ask you, so where you think your sense of humor comes from.
Oh man,
do you have no idea?
Well, I mean, I really don't know. I know I can tell you.
Have you always been this way?
I can tell you where it's gotten me. It's gotten me. I don't know where it came from. It's gotten me in trouble. Yeah, this is pretty much me. I mean, I have
like
always
even as a little kid, you're just kind of making jokes all the time.
All the time. I mean, I have a twin brother, and I remember that my twin brother and I and my cousin Eric, we were not allowed. Okay, so you know, family Christmas. We were not allowed to stand next to each other for the prayer because we couldn't make it through the prayer,
right?
Because of this joking, and so so the three of us just kind of always played off each other, and that's just kind of always. I mean, I've always just kind of had a really kind of weird, and I don't know if it's weird, but I will see things and think of things differently than probably most people will think of them. You know, for example. Well, I mean, there's a lot of examples, but yeah, it's always been just kind of a different sense of humor, and it's an acquired taste. I mean, some people think I'm funny, some people think I'm an idiot, some people just don't get it. I mean, so and that's fine.
Yeah,
I mean that's fine. But I don't know that I can't say, you know, I got it from my mom or got it from my dad. Well, not my dad because my parents were divorced since I was 6, so he wasn't ever around. But you know, when I was a kid, I read a lot. I was kind of, well, I would say I was a nerd. I still am. It's just that I've learned how to use that to my advantage.
Right.
Yeah, there comes a point where you
now nerd has become a term of endearment.
So you know, I read a lot. I was on the Quiz Bowl team in high school.
The Quiz Bowl.
That
sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it was always fun. Trivia. I mean, I
they
love
should make
trivia.
like a high school football movie about Quiz Bowl.
I'm sure somebody has.
It
probably is on YouTube.
Like Friday night
trivia
LED
pursuit.
lights.
Yeah, something like that. Light brights or something.
Friday night fluorescence.
But I just, you know, and I enjoy seeing people smile. You know, and I have a serious side. Yeah, but I enjoy seeing other people enjoy life. There's plenty of drama and all sorts of stuff in this world that is going to take care of it. It is going to take care of itself. I mean, you've got it out there. Just enjoying life, trying to lighten the mood. Just be a little goofy. Yeah. You know, and I know we would, you know, talk about, you know, city council. I do remember when I first ran for city council,
which was when
2013.
Okay.
And I remember, Greg Jacklowitz at the Reporter News said, "Hey, Kyle, you know, a lot of people kind of see you as a jokester. Do you think they'll take you seriously as a city councilman?" I said, "Well, I think so, because when I need to be serious, I'm serious."
Well, a lot of comedians are incredibly intelligent.
Well, I wouldn't say that about me. I would say I'm maybe 50%. No. But you know, I can be serious when I need to be serious, but I'm not like that all the time. You know, I see, you know, people that are just they never smile, they never laugh. And I don't want to be that way. And I don't think I am. Are there probably times when I should be more serious?
I can't remember a time when you smiled, to be honest.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
But I just want people to enjoy life. And if I can help them out in some way, you know, maybe something stupid that just makes them smile, that's fine. Not that I do this because it's some big magnanimous. I mean, I don't go into it that way. It's just who I am. And this is my sense of humor, and I want people to laugh. I want, you know, people to feel comfortable around me. I remember when Also, when I first ran for office and I first got elected, Texas asked me, they said, Kyle, at some point down the future, you're not going to be on city council anymore, either because you lose or you just decide not to run. What do you want people to have said about you? And I said, I want people to say that they knew who I was, that Kyle's not this way at city council, but then he's this way here, and then he's this way here, or he's this way to these people, and he's this way. It's just me, and warts and all. And when I mess up, which I have, and I will continue, that hey, that's my fault, that's my mistake, and but that's kind of I don't want to be fake. So could I just put on a new persona and be serious all the time? Yeah. But that's not me. And people would say, are you okay? If
that'd be the classic politician move.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, will that hurt me in some circles? I'm sure it will. I'm sure there's some people that probably didn't vote for me and won't vote for me because they think I'm a goofball.
But you're not going to get anywhere if you're trying to please everybody.
Well, exactly. And I learned that a long time ago. When I was in television, in other places, there are a certain percentage of people that are just never going to like you for whatever reason. And it could be because they don't like the shrews. They don't like facial hair. I mean, there's and other things, some more serious, obviously, than that. I'm not going to worry about trying to appease everybody because it's not going to happen.
Well, I even noticed when I started making this podcast, I wanted this to be something that I could talk about anything on.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I know there are certain topics that people are scared to talk about, but the whole idea of a podcast is you're fleshing out a thought. And so it's very different. It's very different than, say, like a Facebook post or something like that.
Right.
Like when me and Anthony Williams were talking about the Kevin Hart controversy and everything, we talked about the difference between a podcast is you're not limited to so many words and people aren't posting these little things. So if I say something that people may think is racist or sexist, I can be like, whoa, that's not what I meant. Let me re-explain. Let me back up a little bit, because we word think, like Jordan Peterson said, in order to think, we have to risk being offensive. But thinking is way more important than worrying about being offensive, because as long as you're not intending to be offensive and you admit to a fault, I think that's an important thing to not give up, which is thinking.
And when one of the things that I'm a little afraid that our society has gotten to the point is that we can't discuss things anymore.
Right.
Okay. So if you say A and I say, well, but what about B? Well, then all of a sudden, I can't believe that you're against A. And it's like, no, I didn't say that.
Right.
Okay. What I said is what about? Let's because it used to be we thought things through, we worked things through. I'm going to go back to the space analogy. If the movie Apollo 13, okay, so when they basically had to build an air purifier in the command service module, and they basically took all the stuff that the astronauts had and dumped it on the floor, and they brought in these engineers and said, okay, this is what they have. Build something from what they have. There's a fear among a lot of engineers that I've talked to over the years that because of computers and things like that, we have gotten away from that ability to be able to think things through. And that may not be an exact analogy, but it worries me that when someone makes a statement of any kind, just simply disagreeing with it, or not even disagreeing with it, just questioning it, all of a sudden makes you a bad guy. That worries me.
I mean, the only way we've gotten anywhere in the world is from questioning.
Well, I mean that's where God gave us minds to think things through. And I'm not, if I disagree with somebody, it's not because I think you're wrong and I think I'm right. I'm just like, well, have you thought about it from this standpoint? And it does worry me that we have kind of gotten into a really here's my opinion, and if you don't agree with me, you're wrong. And it's not that I disagree with you, but I do have some questions. And is it so wrong to even question? And we've gotten to a point with a lot of things that you can't even question somebody because now all of a sudden you calling me this, you call me, no, I'm just asking you a question. I'm just asking you a question. Now, unfortunately, people have taken that and they have done some bad things with it that way. But I just hope that people, let's ask questions. There's nothing wrong with just asking a question.
Well, I think it was the 5th podcast or something. In the third podcast, we talked about. I had 3 people on, and we talked about God, and it was called like "What is God?" And so we basically discussed a bunch of different ideas. And I freaked out. I didn't freak out, but I had kind of, because this is a different podcast than my last one. It's not premeditated as far as recording and editing.
Right.
Like I just kind of upload it right after we do it. And I kind of had anxiety for the rest of the day. And then in the 5th one, we talked about the Kevin Hart thing as soon as the Kevin Hart thing happened.
Right.
And I kind of had anxiety about it because I was like, people are going to see it and I'm going to get blackballed. And I mean, because people are so not open-minded that they won't even listen to me. And even in the thing, I was like, I don't support homophobia, but and Kevin Hart could be a homophobic. I don't know him, but from what I see and from the evidence that people are suggesting he is, it's highly doubtful. I think it's kind of bananas to jump to that conclusion. But I started getting kind of freaked out afterwards that people were gonna get upset about it. But the thing I realized is that if I don't question and I don't allow people on my show to question or feel like they can talk or be themselves, like we're never going to get anywhere. And no one would want to listen to that. Yeah. Just discussing everything that we've already talked about. And so it's important to me that this podcast is like, I don't care if people curse because if someone is that way, like I don't want them to feel like they can't be themselves on the podcast because then we're not going to get anywhere. It's funny. You know who Rich Mullins is? Mm-hmm. It's funny. Mac Powell was talking about, I never knew this, but Rich Mullins is he like smoked all the time and he cursed like a sailor. And it's funny because Mac said at first, you meet him and you're like, man, I can't believe that this is the guy that like, he's not who I thought he was, but he is the guy that you thought he was. He just looks different. Right. Like he's the sweetest, most caring guy you'll ever meet. But I wouldn't want someone to feel like they have to put on a facade because then you're not going to get anywhere genuine. Right. From that.
And, there are, we do live in a society where, and I don't know that it's now it's so worse because it's, you can look back over time. There have always been kind of hot button issues. Mm-hmm. I think we do live in a society where we just need to be careful what we say, because of the mass dissemination of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. What you say, so many people can hear it and see it almost instantaneously. Right. And it used to be that if you said something in Abilene, Texas, well, pretty much Abilene, Texas is going to hear you. Yeah. Okay. Or something like that.
But now it's the entire world.
It's the entire world. And are things worse than they were 20 years ago? I don't know. It's just that now I know about it instantaneously from all over the world. There's like, for example, you look on the news and, so-and-so kicked off airplane for, foul language.
Yeah. I mean, we could name multiple cases of people we've never met.
I'm sure that's happened forever.
Right.
It's just that now with videos and streaming,
we know the guy's name, his eye color,
and I know instantly. And I know about it instantly. Yeah. And so I think that we just have to be careful of that. I know we had talked about, what has happened with me. I put the bullets in that gun. I mean, I said those were jokes that I said. And I had someone ask me, they said, what were you thinking? And my answer is I obviously wasn't. I obviously.
No. Can you turn the computer down? I think that was what made the noise.
Oh. Or was it a phone? What my phone?
I think my phone went onto the computer. So on the computer, just turn the volume down. Sorry.
I just
I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine. You're fine. And I apologize. It was never my intention.
Yeah.
Never my intention to be that way. And but really, what my intention is a moot point.
Yeah. For people who aren't from here listening to the podcast.
Okay.
Just a brief description of what happened.
I don't know if we can do a brief description. So basically,
I mean, you kind of whip off jokes all the time.
Yeah.
And so you had made a joke on Facebook a long time ago.
Yes. Some of them going back about 9 or 10 years. And there are some here in Abilene who claim those are racist and brought them to the attention of the media. And and being a city council member, and so that's kind of what happened. And you know, I'm sorry. It was never my intention to be racially offensive. Most of those jokes, and again, let me just back up and say this. I can say they're jokes. If they offended someone, they're not jokes. And I understand that. And so when I say jokes, I'm not trying to downplay, their feelings. But what I thought were jokes were mostly soccer, because I'm a soccer guy. And again, my sense of humor. So long story, very short, I have, and I know that I have legitimately hurt, because I've talked to several people that I've sat down with, and there was one guy that he said, "Why would you do that?" And we talked and we talked and we cried, and we're good, and I would hope that anybody, and I mean anybody, that felt offended or affronted or whatever would sit down and visit with me,
right?
Because here's a reality. I'm looking at life right here. Okay, that's all I got. I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
I don't know life from here, because that's not me. Now, we all need education. Okay. Because there are all different things. And so, yeah, I said those things. No one made them up. They're me. Now, some of them were presented a little, in my opinion, and that's all it is my opinion, a little out of the context.
Yeah.
Okay. But again, those posts were brought to my attention. I took them down. I've apologized to as many people as I can, and I legitimately am sorry. And I hope that we can, all learn from this. And
there are a few things that I would want to talk about, or just see what you think about.
Okay.
That I think need to be taken into account with situations like yours, because you're certainly not the only one. It's been going on for a few years now, because social media has finally gotten to the age that not only is everyone using it, but there are people that were teenagers when social media was prevalent who are now adults living life.
Right.
And so teenagers from the beginning of time said stupid stuff.
Yeah.
But now the stupid stuff is being recorded,
and
so it can be pulled up like a file.
And I think that's a shame, because, I was pretty boring in high school. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I was not a rebel.
No, you had the quiz bowl thing going on.
I know. I was like I said, I was a nerd then, and I've just learned how to parlay that to my advantage. It is unfortunate that people have done stupid things forever. It's just that now we have access to it. Now we have access to, and even really, my generation, not as much. Although, I'll find a picture and I'll scan it in and put, hey, look at these goofballs and things like that. Now, I think, though, that there are some, if you see a pattern, which, define a pattern, is it once a week, once a month, whatever. But yeah, I think that it's only going to get worse, because people that are now becoming adults and running for office and things like that, things they did 20 years ago, if man, I just think of some of the things, when I pledged at Abilene Christian University, man, we hazed kids, because that's what we did, the hazing, and I was hazed. Now, and I say this, hazing, not like some of the stories I've heard. I mean, we never did anything illegal and anything to put our lives in danger, but did we make, did we called it pancaking kid. And so I say hazing, and that's probably very tame. We used to cover kids in flour and milk and eggs and syrup, because that's all the things you made a pancake with.
That sounds incredibly more exciting than my high school career.
Yeah, so that was we call it pancaking, and we'd make them go get in Lake Fort Phantom in their shorts. I mean, so when I say hazing, well, nowadays it would be considered hazing, and it really wasn't hazing. I mean, we didn't make them, and
I would say nowadays people are way too sensitive for that.
Well, unfortunately, because
there's a lot of things that happen in good fun that from the outside it doesn't look that way.
Well, and unfortunately, there's a lot of illegal stuff, and the bad
there
thing
is that.
Yeah. So the bad thing is the folks that are doing stuff illegal have kind of ruined it for everybody else. Because when I pledged, there was a thing called brat communion, because I was a fraud in brats. And that we were called brats. And brat communion was basically anything hot they could find. It was salsa, it was cayenne pepper, it was man, it was horseradish sauce. It was everything. And they put it in a cup and you had to drink it.
Mhm.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that. It just, I mean, it made a lot of us throw up.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was just a rite of passage.
Yeah.
And I did it because the guys that had done before me, you know,
Yeah.
and so, and I wanted to do it.
Well, like my dad 2 Christmases ago bought Carolina Reaper, which is the hottest pepper on the planet.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, I have to, if I want to be a human being and get past the stage of life, I have to eat this.
Right.
And it's a rush. I mean, but like, obviously, I mean, people can look at that and be like, why would you ever do that?
Yeah.
It can kill you, but it can't kill you.
It can't kill you. And, you know, a lot of that's just the, you know, but anyway, so, you know, I guess kind of where you're going is, you know, yeah.
Just to take chances and
chances. But like I said, but there are consequences.
Mhm.
Okay. There are consequences.
Right.
And when, in my case, I said those things in a joking manner,
yeah.
not really thinking them through, spread out over 10 years.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry. I mean, I'm genuinely, you know, and the people that I have offended, that I have talked to and I've apologized to, some of them have forgiven me, some of them have not. I would hope that anybody though would want to sit down with me and get to know me, because a lot of times, unfortunately, when you see things like this on the media, the first time people see somebody is when they see these accusations against them. And then they don't know the person. So, and it's been a very eye-opening experience, because, you know, when they say if it's on the internet, it's forever, it is forever.
Yeah.
I mean, it is forever. And you can go, you know, delete it, which I have, but it's screenshot saved,
Right.
however many, and it can go global like that.
Hey, Jordan, can you look up on YouTube, John Ronson TED Talk? We'll keep talking.
Okay.
I'm about to talk about a video, and I want to be able to tell people how to see it.
Okay.
Do you listen to TED Talks much?
Not much, no.
Okay. Well, one of possibly the best TED Talk I've ever heard. It's by a guy named John Ronson, incredibly intelligent guy, but he talked about the Justine Sacco case. Do you know about that?
Refresh my memory.
So it was on Twitter, and I don't know how many years ago it was, but she said she only had like 100 followers or something like that, like nobody. She's just a normal person with, I mean, I have more than that. And so she just, if you looked at it, she made dumb jokes kind of all the time. Just like it seemed like you might have. You just make silly jokes and put them on Facebook, and maybe someone will get a laugh out of it. And she said something, if I can quote it exactly right, look up Justine Sacco on another tab. Look up Justine Sacco tweet, and it'll tell you exactly. But she was going to Africa on some business thing, and before she got on her plane, which was like 11 or 12-hour flight or something, she tweeted, see if you can find it. Maybe go to images and it'll be there or something. Do you see it in quotes? It says going to Africa, and that's how it starts.
Oh, yeah. It says, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white.
Okay. So that's the tweet. And off like the cuff, obviously you're like, oh my God, you can see where the trouble comes from.
Right. Yeah.
But basically, John Ronson has this whole, he kind of dissects the entire thing. And he said, if you were like me the night that happened, you it's like kind of the sublime, like dark beauty almost. It's like why you look when you see a car crash on the side of the road, you look as you keep going. Right. Because there's something intriguing about it. And you saw like, oh, this person just is going to get screwed, you know, like, and you just kind of sit back and let it happen. And all these hateful tweets came through, and people talking about how horrible she was and she could get fired from her job. She's on a plane. She's asleep. She can't check her phone during all this time. Right. And it starts trending because one of her friends shared it, and then it starts sharing, and she becomes the #1 trending topic on Twitter. And everyone's talking about it. And then these hateful tweets start coming out, like saying someone should rape this bitch and all these horrible things, and saying like if she's really impervious to AIDS. But no one has any idea who she is, what her intention was. We heard something that, it sounds pretty questionable, but the idea, it almost seems more crazy that somebody who is genuinely racist would try to put it at, if you were racist, it seems like the smarter idea would be to be secretive about it, not to just go put it out there on Twitter in the form of a joke. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm sure people do.
Yeah. And I mean, I like I said, I don't tweet.
Yeah.
Never tweeted, never Twitter. I hope I didn't ever say anything because that is kind of, I tried in my humor to not really be that direct. And I would hope I never would say anything.
Well, when John Ronson talked about it, he did an article on it, and he ended up meeting her. She lost her job. She lost everything. And she only found out about it. She wasn't able to defend herself because she was asleep on a plane for 11 hours. She woke up. She found out she was the #1 trending topic on Twitter. She had messages from people from high school that she hadn't talked to in years saying, "I'm so sorry," and stuff like that. She lost her job, like, I'm pretty sure while she was on the plane. They had said, like, can anyone figure out like what airport she's going to? And someone did. From all these people on the internet, someone did and found out where she was, and they were able to like find her when she landed, and people were taking pictures of her. And it's just crazy. But when he finally met her, John Ronson said when he read it, he was like, I'm not sure that was intended to be racist. And he talked to her and he asked her about it. And she had said, I think a lot of people in America kind of live in this safe bubble, and they don't like understand scary things outside of America, whether they're scary or not. And she was like, I was kind of making fun of that bubble, is what it was. And he was like, that sounds like a joke that you would hear on The Simpsons or from Randy Newman. And he was like, I guess her crime was that she wasn't as good at making these jokes as Randy Newman or The Simpsons. And I mean, he said if you could tell from meeting her, she wasn't racist. She in no way meant it that way. And she certainly had no slip-ups like this before. It was just one joke that she thought maybe someone would giggle at.
Well, and what I have learned, though, is, and this and I've learned this from this, but also, like, when I was in television, it doesn't matter, when you go to journalism school and you learn all the journalism, this is what news, and this wasn't, it doesn't matter what a journalist thinks is news. It matters what the public thinks is news. Okay. It really honestly doesn't matter if I think it's funny or not funny, or offensive or not offensive. That doesn't matter. It's who reads it.
Right.
Okay. And I didn't quite really grasp that. Yeah. Okay. And so I rethink things now. I'm much more cautious when I post something. Which I guess probably I should have been doing in the first place.
Well, there's two things to take into account. So for people posting things, like we talked about it when the mayor was on the podcast, and he said, I guess the positive of this would be people will be able to hopefully learn from other people's mistakes and be like, man, I should really think about what I'm posting because this will be here forever. Yeah. And that is a positive. But there's another aspect of that, is that this is not going to stop completely. We're never going to get rid of 100% of it. And also there's going to be more cases that are coming up from things that have already been done.
Right.
And so there needs to be some kind of discussion, open discussion about the people receiving it. And I think you need to take intent into context completely, because being racist and sounding racist is so black and white different that it's not even funny, And so I think it's important to know the heart of where a joke or a statement comes from, because a joke is completely different than making a real statement. So what's his name? Jack Dorsey, who started Twitter, he's done some pretty questionable things in the field of free speech. But one thing he was talking about on a podcast was it's hard to know what to flag and what not to, because people will call some other people should be murdered, and that's horrible, right?
Right.
But also, people are really intense these days, and people will, you were talking about those game competitions, and before a game competition, someone like Just Trash Talk will be talking to his competition, be like, I'm going to murder you tonight, something like that. And he's like saying literally verbatim the same things as these horrible people. And it's hard to tell intent sometimes, because people just tweet things into the abyss. We don't necessarily know where they're coming from or who's saying it to who, because all we see is the text on the screen.
Right. And that's one of the danger things about texting and everything, is that we don't know who's going to see it.
Yeah.
And you only have the words.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why that old saying, you know, actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
You know, anybody can say anything they want.
Right.
A couple of people that have, you know, that I've asked to visit with, they've asked me to explain myself, and I have, but I've also said, man, let's sit down and talk, because I can type anything.
Right.
I mean, I really can. I mean, I could type the most fluent, and I could pay someone to give me flowery words. I want people to hear, you know, from me, you know, my sincere apology, because it really, I mean, sincerely, I never wanted to come across as offensive. But again, that doesn't matter, because it's how people receive it. And you know, we just need to be careful. I need to be careful. I can't speak for anybody but myself. I need to be careful, because it's, you know, my words have impact. Your words have impact.
Right.
We all have impact. And that's just, you know, we need to be very careful about that. Have I learned a very hard lesson? Yes, I have. And will I do better? Yes, I am doing better. And I, you know, I promise to do better. So anyway,
well, the whole intention of that TED Talk, and the reason I brought it up was, is he talked about anybody who would try to defend Justine Sacco during the time that it was going down, would say, I don't know if the joke's intended to be racist and stuff like that. And those people would get screamed out and be like, well, you're just a privileged bitch too, and say all this horrible stuff and scream people out who were just trying to say, hey, let's think twice about this. And it's horrifying to look at. And he talked about Twitter was supposed to be a place where now the voiceless had voices, and we could get people for doing wrongdoings. But it became a place where it's now smarter not to say anything at all. And he was like, we should stop doing this. And we should be able to think, and we should be open to people thinking. And
well,
it's important not to scream anybody out who just says, what about B, like you were saying.
And I, you know, I have had, you know, most of the people that have come to my defense in no way have said, hey, what he said was, you know, no, I mean, everyone has said, Kyle, I mean, you just weren't thinking.
Yeah.
But we know you, you know, and we know your heart.
Right.
And that's what I would hope people would.
Right.
If I have an opportunity to visit with people.
Right.
You know,
I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be one of those.
No, I understand. I'm just saying, you know,
I'm not like a provocateur and saying we should be able to say whatever we want, and you should go repost what you said 1,000 times because you can. Right. But I just think that there's a learning curve because this is so new for the people reading it to be like, hey, you can't tell anything from text.
Well, and
so before you react to something, think twice about it.
And you're absolutely right. It's going to get worse before it gets better.
Right.
Because we're coming up on a generation and really a generation where everything they have is out there. And even if you were to go, say, for example, find someone my age who is running for office, and we didn't have social media, but now every single yearbook that I've ever been a part of is online somewhere. You know, you can go find a picture of me and David Reeves in November of 1983 with our Fritz Buster shirts on. Okay, so you don't even know what that is. In 1980, Ronald Reagan ran for president and won. In 84, he ran against Walter Mondale. Okay, so, and that's the same year that Ghostbusters came out. And so there was a shirt called Fritz Busters because Walter Mondale's nickname was Fritz. And so it was a picture of Walter Mondale and it was Fritz Busters. So there's a picture of me in that annual. Well, now that it's been digitized, everyone can see it.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's just stuff like that, you know, my age, my generation.
What are you looking at?
I was going to see if I could find the picture.
Midway High School, it'd be 1984. So yeah, I don't know if you can find it. I'm sure I've got it somewhere. But you know, even my generation is that seems to think maybe they're safe.
Yeah,
they're not.
Well, it's not. The problem is it's not. Like we came up with a system of laws to try to be just and to try to be fair to everyone and give them a chance to speak for themselves. But this is a new realm that we don't understand. Yeah. It's a game that we don't know the rules to. And so when people get crazy punished, you think about, I just can't imagine in being in a situation like Kevin Hart's where finally, like, the Oscars is like this achievement upon achievements to be able to host the Oscars.
Right.
And it's something that he was pressured to step down from, and because and he's the one who did it. He stepped down, so they didn't make him.
Right.
But which I hugely respect him for, because he didn't want the Oscars to feel like they either had to get him out or to feel like they were going to lose ratings because of it. Which is noble of him. But I mean, I just see it as not being fair to the people on the other side of it. And so it's like, it's a game that he didn't know the rules to. It was in a comedy special. He had said something that people thought was funny and they reacted to it. And for 10 years, nobody cared about it. It's not like they found footage from behind closed doors. This was out there.
Yeah.
Like, I bet money the comedy special was probably on Netflix. I don't know the specifics of it, but
Or
it
on
was out,
YouTube.
right? Or on YouTube.
Yeah.
That was out there.
Well, that's just society. That's just where we live.
Right.
And I have learned. Did you find it? No.
I
Okay.
couldn't find it.
Well, I'll scan it in and email it. I think I have my.
So is
old
Fridge
manuals.
Busters controversial now?
No, but I'm just saying. No. I don't think. I mean, no, because in 1984, in that president, that's when Reagan it was a landslide. I mean, Walter Mondale won his own. Minnesota was the only state he won from the Electoral College.
Right.
So it was no. But I'm just saying that stuff like that I probably thought was safe. Not that there's anything out there. Okay. But because I am pretty boring. But I'm just saying even stuff like that that's been scanned in.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's just going to continue to grow and continue. And I don't necessarily think that it's any worse than it was. I just think that the problem is that we now have instant access to everything. I mean, we have instant access to everything.
Yeah.
And you're right. If you say it on Facebook, it's there forever. I mean, it is there forever. And so again, with my situation, I have I apologize, and I still continue to apologize, and I don't, but anyway,
I mean, it had not been so,
and I don't want to say, hey, let's get over it. Because I don't get to make that choice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's not my call.
Yeah. It's not really for you to get over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, no, what I'm saying is if someone wants to get over it, fine.
Right.
If they don't, that's their choice too. And,
right.
and like I said, there will be people who will never respect me again, that will never appreciate, they will never allow me an opportunity. And that is absolutely their call. If what I said offended them that much, then that is absolutely their call. That is not my call to say. It is not my point. It is not my place to say, hey, I apologize. You need to get over it. That's not my call.
I think the thing is, it had never been so close to me until the situation with you, because, and I mean, I didn't know you super personally. We worked on one video together, like 5 or 6 months ago. Yeah.
In August. Yeah.
And I just knew you as a really kind guy who just makes jokes all the time. And I remember when I heard the situation going on, and from the little information and interaction I had with you, I was like, something else is going on. There's another level to this that is not being reported, that is not what's being spread around. And so my first exposure to it, immediately, I'd only known you for a few minutes months ago. And I was like, I know that there's another level. But people who haven't had those few minutes of interaction don't know. And all they know is what they consider to be hateful text on a screen.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you. If you just look at the text, they look pretty bad. I mean, they do. But again, there's
another thing is, anything can look bad if you don't know the intention behind it. And I'm not saying it wasn't dumb what you said. I don't even know all the things you said.
I'll be the first to say I shouldn't. You asked where I got my sense of humor. It's just kind of out there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know all the things you said, so I'm not trying to defend word for word what you said.
No, I understand.
But I just do think that, I see the easy resolution to the problem, which is thinking twice. Because had any of these people who were upset known you for a few minutes, you said you talked to people and you apologized and you're like, I really didn't mean it that way. And at a certain point, it's like, what do you want? But it's funny because earlier this morning, because I knew we were going to have this podcast today, I was listening to Ben Shapiro's podcast that I listened to you ever listen to him?
No. I don't do. I mean, honestly, I don't do podcasts. So,
okay.
This is the closest I've ever been to a podcast. So,
all you need to do is be on them, and then you've participated.
Then I participate. Yeah, I'll add that to my resume. So,
but on his show, he was talking about some news situation. I can't remember exactly what it was because I was kind of passively listening to it. But he brought up Kevin Hart. I think he brought up Justine Sacco and all these other people, and he said it's crazy because people will get crazy mad at someone. And then if they apologize, everyone goes, oh, well, you're apologizing because you knew you did something wrong because you're incredibly guilty. Be like, right, but I've changed. That's 10 years ago. I've changed. And they're like, no, people don't change. So you've apologized because you know you're guilty and you're the same person. You know, like a big saying is you're not as bad as the worst thing you've ever done. And that's really important to know. Everyone has done dumb stuff, but you might be lucky. You're probably lucky. And your stuff has not been put out there for everyone to see or find.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was not the high point of my career,
right.
of my life. And you know, I'm hoping that you know, this will lead to a, this has led and will continue to lead for me to have a better understanding. I hope it will allow us to, you know, let's talk about, you know, these concerns that people have. If, you know, if, and there are things, I mean, there are things we need to talk about. I mean, even in 2019. So let's do it. Let's sit down and talk. You know, let's have a cup of coffee. Let's have a glass of tea, something like that.
We need to figure out some kind of, we need to talk about it more. You're right. We need to have some kind of societal rules for it, because we know, like on a comedy stage, when someone's doing stand-up comedy, it's not the same. People, like a lot of comedians will talk about, they have their stage wives and they have their real wives. So they love their wife to death. They would never cheat on them. But there are certain, like Dave Chappelle will make jokes about cheating on his wife because it's funny, but he doesn't mean it. And his wife knows that. He'll have stories that aren't true because on the stage he's playing a character and he's doing what he can to make the audience laugh because that's his joke, or because that's his job. And the whole point is to take all these crazy stuff that happens in life and be able to laugh about it for an hour. And then afterwards we can go back to stressing about it. But for an hour on a comedy stage, we've all agreed that this is a place where we're not talking about serious political discussion. We're just having fun and joking around. But then on forums like Facebook, we don't really have rules for that. We haven't all agreed on this platform.
Right. And you know, one of the great things about Abilene, which makes Abilene a great place to live, is there is a huge amount of forgiveness. Yeah, like I said, you know, most people have been very kind and forgiving. Yeah. And you know, hey Kyle, that was not the smartest thing to do, but we know your heart. Right. And so
that's good to hear. That's good to hear that.
Yeah, like I said, and anyway, so anyway.
Well, I'm glad that you were open about talking about it. Yeah.
I mean, it's. I mean, it happened. You know, it happened. I can't act like it didn't happen.
Right.
And I'm sorry it happened. I'm sorry that I said it. I'm sorry that I wrote it. You know, those posts are down, and anybody that wants to talk to me, I'll sit down and visit with them, and let's talk. I mean, let's you know, let's figure out how we can take the next step together.
Yeah. And it's good. It's good to get it out there, to be able to be open, because you say, you know, you've talked to people about it, and you are able to get across that you genuinely are sorry, and that was never your intention.
Yeah. And I hope that, like I said, I just look forward to opportunities to visit with people.
All righty. Well, is there anything else that you
I don't know?
like
You've got the list. I mean, you know, we only got to that one and that one,
and then I skipped down.
And then you skipped to there.
I don't know. Do you have a little bit of time? Because I have some more questions.
I don't know. What time is it?
It is 8:11.
Can we go about 20 more minutes, maybe?
Okay.
8:11. You sure?
8:11.
We haven't been here an hour. And have we been here that long?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess I need to call my wife. I told her not an hour. Okay, so go ahead, shoot.
Podcast fly. What's his name? Joe Rogan does like 5-hour podcasts. I don't do 5-hour podcasts. But
Joe, your record stands.
It's so interesting because people will listen, but our culture has kind of turned around because it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And then we had Vine, which was 6 seconds, which I think was the epitome of small instant gratification. And we've turned around And now podcasts have hit this huge strike in popularity.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan's doing 5-6 hour podcasts, and people are listening to the whole thing. Like you never would have guessed it 5 years ago.
Where would?
Buckle in. We've just started.
I know. I guess.
All right. Welcome to Popcorn Space.
I guess if you lived in the Metroplex and you were in the car for 3 hours going to work,
a lot of people
3 hours going away. Abilene was always known as the 5-minute rush hour.
Yeah.
Because and I remember when my kids were young, we were members out at the Wiley Swim Club, and people would say, "You drive all the way to Wiley?" All the way to Wiley. And we drove all the way to Wiley.
Right.
I mean, if it takes you more than 20 minutes to get anywhere in Abilene, you're just not trying.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Yeah. So you had.
Oh no, you're good. You're good. I brought up. I have a bunch of random things. I think why politics is why'd you get into being a city council member?
Well, and that's a good question. And a lot of people have said, why do you still want to do this?
Well, that is an interesting. I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but I mean, facing kind of adversity like this, I mean, you're going for re-election. It could be easy for some people to just walk away.
Well, because I still believe that the vast majority of Abilenians believe in me. Now, they get a chance May 4th to make that decision. Okay, that is the decision that gets to be made on May 4th. If Abilenians believe in me and want to reelect me, they will.
And also, I think they get a chance to see Avengers Endgame on May 4th.
That's true too. Yeah, which my daughter saw the first one and cried, not knowing that there was a second.
She cried at Avengers Infinity War
because she didn't know there was going to be a second.
How old is your daughter?
25.
Oh, okay, okay. It's pretty funny. When I saw that with my buddy at the new XD theater we have, and afterwards I knew it was going to be a 2-parter, so I wasn't that shocked, but it was definitely different. And I remember thinking there are probably like 8-year-olds here, like
who can't comprehend,
who are like, all of my favorite superheroes, spoiler alert, just died.
Yeah. That's like when I was a little kid, or was it last year? No, it was when I was a little kid. I didn't have the concept that New Year's, one day was 1 year, and then the next day was the next year. And I remember my mom dropping my brother and I off at our grandparents.
She said, "See you next year."
She said, "See you next year." Well, I freaked out. I mean, oh man, she's gonna leave us. She's like, "It's tomorrow." I was like, "Oh yeah." Anyway, but why politics? Why Abilene? I mean, this is my town. I mean, I have raised my family.
I didn't mean to make it sound like it's not cool that your daughter cried.
No. I think it's hilarious, and I give her a hard time about it.
I get it.
She also cried.
They were really pulling for those tears.
She also cried when Dumbledore died, but that's a whole other story.
Oh,
she's a big Harry Potter guy, fan. Abilene's my town. I mean, I love this city, and one of the reasons I'm running is because even through all of this, I have been shown so much love and support. Not condoning by any stretch. That's not what I'm saying. What I've been shown is love and compassion and forgiveness and arms around me. I mean, I've had people stop me on the street and give me a hug and say, "Hey, Kyle, I'm sorry this is happening to you. We're pulling for you. Hang in there." Abilene is a great city. I mean, it is a great city. It is the 28th largest city in the state of Texas, but it sure doesn't feel that way. Because we do have that small town feel. We do have that small town feel where we can drive.
It's the 28th largest city in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that makes more sense. I was thinking in the USA, it's the 28th.
No, we're a little bit smaller than that. But in the state of Texas, there are very few towns that are 100,000 and more. And we're one of them. Because we're kind of out here by ourselves, I think we kind of feel that way. But Abilene is great, and I want to continue. There's some things that I want to continue to do. I want to make sure that we have, Now here's my politician hat, right? And I won't get too far into that. But there's just a lot of things that I want to make sure that we still do. And I love serving the citizens of Abilene. I really do. And that's why what has happened to me has been really hard for me, because I feel like I've let a lot of them down. Didn't mean to, but I have. Okay. And so I really want to continue to serve the citizens. And if they want me back, that's great. And if they don't, then they have that opportunity to do that. We've got downtown hotel that we're looking at. We've got
isn't that going to be like right over here?
Yeah, it's going to be where the water office is, kind of that office where the water office is, and then go to the west where the Boy Scout office is, that block, and then go to the east There's a parking lot and there's a building there standing by itself.
Well, it's interesting. I hope, like, to explain it to anybody who isn't from Abilene. I was, because I was walking, and I feel weird like bringing up other podcasts on the podcast, but I was walking down the street with Mac Powell yesterday, and it's Sunday, and he was like, "This downtown's kind of dead on Sundays," and I was like, yeah. I mean, it's not every day. Like if you come here during a normal day, there's a bunch of people down here, but it's like on a Sunday, there's really not much to do over here. But it's like it's really pretty down here. It's kind of the only place that we have kind of tall buildings, and it's got a really interesting feel to it. And so it would be cool to have more stuff going on.
Oh yeah, there. I mean that's one of the things that we're doing. We've got that. We've got the development at 202 Pine.
What is that?
That's the building that's going to be it's kitty corner. I mean, it's right across from the post office.
Is that Grain Theory?
Grain Theory. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Grain Theory.
Yeah, that's Spencer's dad, right? Spencer Castle.
Yes. Yeah. So Grain Theory. So that's it. We've had 201. Mesquite, which is Charlie Wolf's place. Eller Hall, I think is what, but it's just the 201 Mesquite Center.
Yeah.
We've got that. We've got some infill development that's happening downtown. Speaking of, we've got renovation going on, hopefully soon with the old cotton warehouse, which, people that have been here a long time remember when that was something else. But if you've been here for only the past 10 or 15 years, the cotton warehouse has always been that dilapidated building that is across the street from Frontier, Texas. There's that, big metal looking thing. That's the old cotton warehouse.
Yeah.
Well, it's falling apart. Okay. And so, but it's going to be raised. It's going to be redone. So there is a lot of infill development. Infill meaning, on the outsides of the town. And I'm sure when Anthony was here, he talked about this. On the outside of the town, there's always going to be growth coming on the outside. We're trying to get more growth on the inside,
right?
Because we got a lot of land downtown that needs to be that can be developed.
Yeah, I mean, we got some like old buildings that aren't being used anymore.
and so one of the things that we can do is, we can offer incentives, and not necessarily, not writing checks to people, but there are incentives. There's some tax. It's called a tax increment reinvestment zone, a TIRZ. And what a TIRZ does, I know it's a terrible acronym.
Sounds incredibly similar to turd.
Yeah, it's a terrible acronym. I wasn't here for that. But what a tax increment reinvestment zone does is it basically says within a particular area, the tax value of a building will stay the same. So the tax on the tax roll, but any increases in that, the increased tax value, instead of going back into the general fund, just goes back into that area.
Right. So
it helps increase, so people have an incentive to invest. And so you're seeing things along the Pine Street corridor that will continue to grow. We've got stuff going on up near ACU that's continuing to grow. We've got the Paramore Square, which is a little housing development right over here, just kind of to the west and north of downtown. And so hopefully in the next 10 years, well, hopefully sooner than that, but really hopefully in 10 years, if you were to go and come back, downtown would look completely different.
So what is it exactly that you do in the city council? So what is your position, and what does that job look like?
So there are 7 of us on the council. There's 6 council members and a mayor, but the mayor is a voting member as well. And so we are, we are a team. So no one council member really has any more vote. I have the same number of votes as the mayor, as Weldon Hurt, as Donna, as Jack or Shane. And so, the main thing that we do is that we do a lot of rezoning. So if you have a building and you want to do something different or something like that, then it's, a rezoning case. I would say probably the lion's share of what we do on a daily basis are zoning cases. Okay. That's one of the, and it's boring. I mean, it's it's not really sexy. Okay. It's zoning cases.
We've been, I was working with someone who we're trying to get like a building figured out, and they were talking about how frustrating it was. And I asked him, I was like, well, what's going on? And he started explaining. He was like, it's gonna be really boring. I was like, no, I want to hear it. And he was like, well, it has to do with this zoning law going with this. And I was like, you know what? It's okay. I should have taken your warning.
A couple seconds you zone out. But yeah, it's so zoning cases. Now, of course, then the big things we do the budget for the city. And then we if someone comes in and has an idea, we help them with maybe some economics.
Mm-hmm.
The big thing that we've been working on recently is streets. The streets in Abilene are terrible.
Yeah,
and I'll be the first to admit that. I mean, I drive them every day like everybody else.
There are bumps I've memorized in my head, like from my house to work.
Right, left, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's one like I can't avoid that. I know exactly where it is, and it goes like dum, 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 and I like know. I like every day. Every day I'm like ready for it.
Yeah, but and we have not done a good job on our streets, and now we are, and hopefully. No, not hopefully. We will get on top of this, and our streets will be better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I've had a lot of people say, "Well, the city council and city, it's kind of like I kind of go back to the Lion King when Mufasa says, he hits him on the head and he says, "It doesn't matter. That's in the past."
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be flippant about it. That's not my thing. But the reality is, it really doesn't matter. What city councils in the past
what's important is what we're doing to move forward.
Yeah, what they did or did not do, we can't control that.
It's irrelevant to talk about what happened in the past because we can't change it.
I can't control it. So we have to make a decision what we're going to do from this point forward.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we can continue as we have, and then in 20 years, they will look back and say, well, councils didn't do anything. Or they will say, hey, in 2017, 2018, they made a decision that they're going to get the streets fixed and we're going to get the
to adjust fixed. What I said. It's not irrelevant to talk about what happened in the past.
No, I understand. Yeah.
But to complain about it and to revel in it, but instead learn from it.
We know what happened and we know what didn't happen.
Right.
Okay. But we can't, in my opinion, we can't not move forward because of what previous councils did or did not do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The reality is this is where we are.
Right.
Okay. And we have a chance to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And is it going to cost money? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to cost money. It costs me the same as it costs anybody else.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to do that. And a lot of Abileneans, they're not happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
Yeah.
But that's what we got to do. We don't have $6 million just sitting around that we can do, or we don't have $3 million over here.
Mm-hmm.
We have we are required to have a balanced budget,
mm-hmm.
which we do have a balanced budget. And if we do take $3 million for streets, it's got to come out of somewhere else.
Right.
And so that's the main thing. So, streets, downtown hotel, good jobs. We want to make
mm-hmm.
sure that obviously it's not our job as a city to pick winners or losers. Mm-hmm. It is our job as a city to make that the environment is as lucrative as possible for businesses to come in, mm-hmm. which means we need to make sure that there are the taxes, the zoning, the incentives that we can do are as business friendly as we can make them.
Last thing I think I want to ask you before we head out, it's a small thing, but as far as you saying you seemed like a different guy to be on the town council, and everyone was like, why would you do this? And do you think people will take you seriously? Mm-hmm. What exactly, if anything, really does it take to proceed being a town council member besides just a good campaign?
Well, I mean, I think people want to know that you're serious about the job.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I am. I hope people see that.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't understand is that we all on the council get $1
mm-hmm.
a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when people say you're a career politician, well, I wish I could live on $1.
Right.
We get $1 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's no really financial gain. So
mm-hmm.
I'm not doing this to get rich. Anthony's not doing this to get, we're not doing this to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
We do it because we love our city.
Yeah.
We actually love Abilene and we want Abilene to be
mm-hmm.
a better place. And so I want people, I think that you have to take the job seriously. You have to be serious about it. I think you have to be accessible
mm-hmm.
to people. I hope that people feel like I'm accessible.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they feel like if they call me, I'm going to get back to them as soon as I can, figure
mm-hmm.
out a time to visit with them. And I hope that, one of the things that is good is that you do what you say you're going to do
mm-hmm. and
don't do what you say you're
mm-hmm.
not going to do. Okay. So, and I know that sounds like a campaign slogan, and I guess maybe it is, but you have to be willing to take the job seriously and put
mm-hmm.
the time commitment in, because there is a time commitment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's time away from families that city council members spend.
Yeah.
You have to listen. I mean, it really does. Again, it kind of goes back to all this. It really doesn't matter what I think. It's what the voters think,
mm-hmm.
and if I believe something, yet all the people call me and say, Kyle, you need to do this differently, then I need to listen to that. And then we got to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got to, our streets, we've got to get our streets fixed. We have got to work hard to do that. We have got to make sure that the economy is good enough that we can not only bring in new businesses, which is important, but help the existing ones to thrive.
As far as leading into being a city council member, being like, it's so kind of surprising that Donald Trump would be president because he wasn't like a governor or a politician before. He was just a businessman who also had a reality TV show, and then he was president. Like, it was quite the leap. And so most people, are governors or politicians first. So is there any kind of thing like that would normally precede being a city council member?
No, because this is really politics at its most grassroots level. I mean, it really is.
What did you do? I mean, obviously, part of a city council, I have another job. It's not a full-time job.
I was an Aflac salesman, but when I ran for city council in 2013,
were you an Aflac salesman before you ran?
Yes, I was an Aflac I was with Aflac since 2001. Okay, so I had always kind of wanted to get involved. I mean, there are some people that just kind of let things go by, and then there's other people that want to get involved and be involved and make a change, and that's me.
Right.
Okay? So I live on the north side, which means I could only run for the north side seat. Okay. So at the time when I kind of thought I might want to do this, there was Anthony was on north side, Shane was north side, and Stormy Higgins was north side. Well, I didn't have a problem with any of those guys. I mean, I'm not going to run against them because what am I going to say? Hey, Shane's doing a bad job. He wasn't doing a bad job. Anthony's doing a bad. He wasn't. Well, Stormy decided not to run, and so that was my opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I visited with some folks and said, hey, I think I want to run for city council. And then you just start hitting the pavement. I mean, then you hit the streets and you shake hands, you shake a lot of hands.
Well, don't hit the pavement. We got bad roads.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I mean, literally sometimes you hit the pavement. You kiss babies, you like I said, you shake hands. And then you do it because you love your city. You do it because Abilene is a great place to live, and I want that to continue. I want, years, and I use this as an example. Years ago, somebody said, "Hey, you know what? Abilene needs a zoo," and that was probably pretty revolutionary at the time.
When did Abilene get our zoo?
It's been I don't remember.
I do know it is pretty interesting because I mean we have a college town. So many people come to ACU and HSU my dad came here from LA. He grew up in LA, and you come to this Abilene town, you think no one's probably ever heard of, but they stay. Yeah. People from everywhere else end up staying.
A lot of people move away from Abilene and then move back because, Abilene is a great place to raise a family. I mean, it is wonderful. That's one of the reasons we stayed. I was working at a TV station in San Antonio when it kind of got the time that we knew that our kids would be going into school.
Were you like an anchor?
I was. In San Antonio, no, I was a producer by then. I'd been an anchor in North Carolina, became a producer there, and then I was a producer in San Antonio. But we had an opportunity. We knew when getting ready for our kids to go to school, we were like, hey, we need to get back to Abilene. And we've been here ever since, and love this town, have no desire to go anywhere else. Have been Abilene's been good to us. I mean, it's been a good place to raise a family. It's a good place to make a living. It's great people. I mean, golly, and when you go through those hiccups in the road, and I don't want to downplay the seriousness of what's happened to me, but it is a hiccup in the road. Okay. And when you go through those, and sometimes they're pretty big hiccups, and the amount of love and compassion and caring that I've gotten from people, even people that disagree with me politically. I mean, but I've had a lot of people say, I don't agree with your vote on the budget, and I don't agree with your vote on this, and I don't agree with your vote on this, but I still love you, as a human being, and I think that unfortunately is lost. And that'll be the last thing I say. That's one of the reasons why on the city council we do not run as Republican or Democrat. It is nonpartisan because I do not want the junk that this country has gotten. You're Republican, well then I can't even talk to you. I can't even talk to you.
Right.
We don't want that because we're Abilenians.
Right.
Okay. And we can take care of ourselves. We've done a pretty good job. We're kind of out here. It's the friendly frontier is what they used to call it.
Right.
We can take care of ourselves, and we've done a really good job of that. And we care about each other. And when we mess up, we hold each other accountable, and we hold hands and we talk about it and we make it work.
And we sing that song from The Grinch, whatever that one is.
Yeah. Yeah, that one. Yes. Okay.
All right. Well, it was great having you on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I feel like I got so many things to talk to you about.
Well,
you're really good at going. Yeah, that's what I was
do part
thinking.
2.
But also, I want to know what you think, and anybody who's watching, leave a comment about. I've added this popcorn bucket to put the moon in. I used to have that stand that we were talking about. What do you think?
May I hold the moon?
Yeah, you can hold the moon.
So all I can think of is, first off, Hamlet. Poor Yorick.
Right.
I knew him well. I also think of not The Incredibles, Despicable Me.
Yeah. When he wanted to steal the moon.
We get the moon. But anyway, so
that's I assume, except for this weird little hole that changes the colors, and this, which I assume is just there so you can sit it down. Besides those, it said that it's 3D printed based off of pictures of the moon, so it's supposed to look exactly like the moon.
Well, where's the man? Isn't there a man in the moon?
Or the flag? I mean, that's the proof. That's what I'm telling you. We didn't go to the moon. If this was 3D printed and there's no men on this,
hold on, right? I think right there.
I don't buy it.
I think hold on. There's a. Says,
there was something about space rocks being faked. Do you remember that? Did you hear about that?
Eat at Joe's, right there. It says,
"Oh my
Eat at
God."
Joe's.
All right, forget it. No, but it was great having you on the podcast. I definitely think we should have a part 2 at some point.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
But it was good talking to you.
I'll only sign my name once.
Oh, right. Before we stop, gotta have you sign that.
Should I sign near the mayor?
Yeah, sign wherever you want.
There.
Perfect.
Yeah, and someone will go, "Who is Carl McRigged?"
Right. No, well, I think this is the hardest one to tell, or maybe mine. Mine kind of looks like a J, and M, and a 2. It's supposed to be a T, but it's like kind of slanted.
JM2. That sounds like a
band.
Yeah.
I'll start it.
Okay. Best name for a band if you had to make one up real quick.
I'll
tell you mine. Flannel Jesus.
Flannel Jesus.
Yeah. Did you ever when you were a kid, when you went to Bible school, they always had the flannel graphs and they always had flannel Jesus?
Yeah.
Flannel Jesus.
Okay. Rocket hairdo.
Rocket hairdo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couldn't you get into that? That'd be like I feel like that'd be like more 80s. That's an 80s band name.
Well, but you'd have to spell hairdo with like DEAUX or something.
Yeah. right.
Something like that. All right. Appreciate it, man.
All righty.
Thanks.